If, if I ever ran for government, I wouldn't, and went, oh, he has your suits, I'll buy your suits for you. Say, fuck off. I'm being paid enough on my salary. No one's bought me fucking clothes anytime I've been to work. And any other bastard job I've had. Oh, but I mean, yeah, what, you start buying this. You start buying these things. It's paramount that things need to change. In the UK and basically around the world. And these have the money and the power to do this. And I don't want this channel to be about this. It's always meant to be about disability, but I think it's evident that we are all being played against each other. Unsafe for use. So what if I had took that? Being pushed into a corner saying you're not getting transplant, you jump and I'm willing to take everything that's out there, that we flu jabs, everything that's tried and tested, everything that is presumed to be safe by decades of trials, but not something that's just been out 2 years and then it's 75 years before we can see the paperwork on it. And then by that time, anyone who's ever been involved in it can never be prosecuted or died if it is actually a false flag and it's just full of crap just to make sure they made enough money and made it look deem like they were doing something during the pandemic. Hi everyone, welcome back to Staying Alive. Just thought I'd jump on here and have a just chat with you all. The current events have been over the last week. Just been reflecting, talking events with my wife, looking at both sides of everything that's going on. I just think it's paramount that things need to change in the UK and basically around the world, and people are pointing blame at another person for what they deem to be what's not good right in the world. So you're looking at what we've got on now. We've got all the immigrants coming through. I like to call them the visitors. And I don't think the problem is the fact that they're coming here. I think the problem is they're coming here and it's the handouts and it's the hotels and it's the not observed. We don't know who they are. People are worried. People are scared. And it's been amped up, isn't it? It's been amped up by the news greatly. To perceive that every type of person that's coming here is going to do you harm. They're just here to rob from you. And I can see why they're coming here. Because it is, if I was sat there where they are with next to nothing in my pocket, and I wasn't a criminal, even if I was a criminal, I'd seen these opportunities of crime and drugs, and over here and get a free hotel and get cared for, and and it can take anything between 2 to 5 years to get citizenship, and then then you're gonna get free legal cover, and through the legal aid bill. To fight your case for you to stay regardless if you've done a crime or not. We've got that one that France wants back, who wants to be the one back because of criminal offences, but now this our stupid own laws that have allowed our governments to create can't even send them home. No wonder people are becoming a breaking point. But it's got to be manipulation somewhere down the fucking road. I always believe that there's someone's gaining by causing these events. I said it with the hotels. I said that, if there wasn't money to be made, this wouldn't happen. Same as wars. The only reason we have half these wars that are going on is because it funds the military regime, and everyone who creates these massive weapons and the planes and the missiles and the bullets are all making billions and billions. These companies be bankrupt or had peace, and they don't want to be bankrupt. So how do you get around that? Well, you manipulate situations, you cause situations. These have the money and the power to do this, and I don't want this channel to be about this. It's always meant to be about disability, but I think it's evident that we are all being played against each other. I really believe the trust is completely died in this country. I had nothing but the most greatest respect and I'd had them on a pedestal, the healthcare system. And over the last few years, especially since COVID, and I have my own views on that, and um, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I know I did have the 2 jabs. I'd never had blood clots prior to having jabs. I probably could have been prone to blood clots because of my condition, but I never had them prior. That were known of. But after 2 jabs, I was getting blood clots. So now I'm on blood thinners for the rest of my life. It could just be that I was going to get them regardless. But to be told that I had to keep taking this drug, and this is when Moderna was, so I was told when Moderna was still here, that I need to keep getting the jabs every time there's a new jab come out, otherwise I'll never be assessed for transplant. And I always raised my concern to say, this hasn't been tested long enough. It hasn't been given to enough people. We don't know the true side effects. And then Moderna was pulled a month later. It was unsafe for use. So what if I had took that? Being pushed into a corner saying, you'll not get your transplant until you jump and I'm willing to take everything that's out there, that, your flu jabs, everything that's tried and tested, everything that is presumed to be safe by decades of trials. But not something that's just been out 2 years and then it's 75 years before we can see the paperwork on it. And then by that time, anyone who's ever been involved in it can never be prosecuted or died if it is actually a false flag and it's just full of crap just to make sure they made enough money and made it deem like they were doing something during the pandemic. And more and more unsafe for use. So what if I had took that? Being pushed into a corner saying, you'll not get your transplant until you jump and I'm willing to take everything that's out there, that, your flu jabs, everything that's tried and tested, everything that is presumed to be safe by decades of trials. But not something that's just been out 2 years and then it's 75 years before we can see the paperwork on it. And then by that time, anyone who's ever been involved in it can never be prosecuted or died if it is actually a false flag and it's just full of crap just to make sure they made enough money and made it deem like they were doing something during the pandemic. Could then sue the owner of the bar for not protecting their rights. It's like, this has just went insane. Absolutely insane. It's like, what? Crazy. And I didn't really see anything of that young girl who was murdered, and when it started getting pushed around in the media, I was like, Jesus Christ. And everyone's saying it's not racial. But he just walk through the station saying, I just killed that white girl. If it had been the other way around, the white person saying, oh yeah, I just got that black person, I've stabbed that person to death, the optics would have been far more different, and, there would have been riots in the streets, things getting burnt down, things being destroyed. I had it with George Floyd, and that to me was completely, I agree 100%. It was murder. He didn't take his foot off his neck. Regardless if you're a criminal or not, you don't deserve to be killed. You don't, it's just an abuse of power. And I think that's what's happening everywhere now, where the abuse of power is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was just thinking, like, sheep just walking in the same bottom, nodding my head, just going in the same direction, listening and being told. But the news outlets are not helping it. Both sides are playing against each other. It's like you always see the picture where it's either a coloured person or a white person, or it's an immigrant and a white person, and it's a rich one in the middle, and he's stealing your cookie, but he's got all the cookies. But you know what I mean? And the white person got, and the black person got 2, and the white person got 1. He went, well, he's taking everything from you, but he's got the pile. He's the one taking everything, absolutely everything. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. Say, if there was no profit in illegal migrants, someone's got to be cleaning these hotels because they get rid of all the staff. Somebody's got to be catering because they get rid of all the staff. Somebody's got to have shares in these hotels. You know, there's got to be, you know, these are rich people making a lot of money, because there is a lot of real estate people out there who will take the money, but these big companies, you know, like Best Western and stuff, who let these go over. Who's got ties to these? Because we've seen it through COVID. You know, all the masks being made by people who never made a mask in their life, and half it wasn't fit for purpose. It's all been destroyed. Like, millions and millions of pounds of waste. Because it's just, what they're doing is they're just trickling it out of our taxes, passing it on to their rich friends. But then what they'll do is they'll give all this free stuff to our visitors, so the media can blame the visitors, so everyone in the country's blaming them for coming and taking advantage of a system that anyone would take advantage of. You know, it's a broken system, because an illegal migrant pays thousands when they turn up. I know that because I have one in my family. You know, and their bills are astronomical, what they have to pay to be here. You know, and they're welcomed with open arms. Anybody who wants to come to the UK, you know, this is me white privilege sitting here. I'm not white fucking privilege. There's no fucking thing as white privilege. There's richness and there's poorness, but there's no fucking privilege. The privilege of the rich, the ones with all the money. You know, the white, black, Chinese, Asians, every ethnicity. If you ain't got money, you're not privileged. No one's got privilege. You don't get more because of the colour of your skin. In this day and age, with IDE, you can do a little bit. Because what they're doing is they're creating this divide. Put ID in, right, and that means that anybody of a different ethnicity can go for a job and the white person can't get it. So then it puts blame on, oh, look at this person, he's getting the job over you. It's all this blindsiding from every fucking side. And the people, you know, so then when we, as white people, say we've had enough of this, we'll become far right. We'll become Nazis. The Nazis are the ones who are fighting for shutting everything down, shutting people's voices down. You know, these are the Nazis, the ones that are the ones who are saying, you can't say hurty words, you can't do this, you can't argue with someone. The Nazis are the ones are the ones who literally shot Charlie Kirk. These are the ones that should be deemed Nazis, because they're the ones who are a dictator saying it's either our way or no way, or we'll kill you. And that's what's happening, being killed. You know, you're not meant to kill someone over a difference of opinion. You know, that's insane. Or even hit someone or attack someone. And I watched a video the other day, and it was a far right video from the London March. And there was a coloured woman running down the street saying, look, we're chasing the far right, we're chasing, and this young lad was chasing. I was saying, what's your problem? What's your problem? But she's made it out on a video that she's terrified. But I'll play the video in a second, and you'll see, and I'll pause it on part of it, that she's laughing. So basically, when I've watched that back, I seen this young lad chase after. I said, what's your problem, what's your problem? I seen another woman come alongside him. He didn't like her response and told her to go away, because he was being aggressive, and I think he thought that. He said, why? And he said, why are you attacking us? Or against us? That's all he's asking. But she was laughing when she was running away.
Why are you coming against us? This is what's happening. They're chasing us. They're chasing us. They're actually chasing us.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? I was born in this country. I was born in this country.
Then fucking love your country then. Smack her, smack her.
What do you smack her?
What's wrong with you? Why are you coming against us?
So have a look at the video. I'll pause it. As you can see, the young lad's running down. Seeing there, the other woman gets chased away by him, because she was being a bit aggressive. But this lass is laughing. It's falsified. It's falsified to create a narrative that isn't real. Do you honestly think all them people, and then they say there was only so many people turned up? And the drone footage shows that was far beyond what they said in the news. And they said it was all Nazis, except probably some brainwashed people who from different ethnicities, because obviously they must be mentally ill if they want to stand up for a UK that welcomed them, a UK that made them feel part of this community, a UK that integrated, you know, and they've had families within the UK, you know, and mixed race families, and you know, there is no racism in the UK. There may be a few racist people, but there is no racism. It drives me insane. But you know, if you say, "Oh, I've got coloured friends, I've got Asian friends, or I've got Muslim friends," oh, so it's your toad friend. It's the one you meant to have. You cannot win. You can't fucking win. Like, I get on with every fellow person I meet. If you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead, and I'll not speak to you. But when I speak to you, I'm not speaking to you because of the colour of your skin. I'm speaking to you because I want to get to know you. So you know, when people turn around and say, like, and they go, "Oh, where are you from?" Because you can see they're from a different heritage. It's like, "Oh, where's your parents from?" Do you know, maybe sometimes it's like, because we want to know your culture. We want to know a little bit about you. What's it like where your parents or your grandparents originated from? What's different there to what it is in the UK? How do you celebrate Christmas there? How, you know, what's your nursery rhymes like? You know, just silly things that, like, you can't think it'd be like that. Like, that's good. That, oh, I would like to do something like that. You know, Indian weddings are beautiful, amazing things. Fantastic to look at. I'd love to go to one. I wouldn't go to one because, oh, I can't go down to bloody Indian. No. Fuck off, man. We're not like that in the UK. And that's why I think we're being divided. And we're allowing the government to manipulate the fucking shit out of it. So I wrote down a few things. Because it's pissing us off, especially where we're being treated with the government for PIP. Where the elderly are being treated. You know. So I thought, right, I'll write down a few things about that. What's went on over the last 20, 30 years. To see if our government really do have our best interests. Our police have our best interests. The media have our best interests. Because I think this is a power thing. This is a class thing. This is they do not like the working class. Although we are the one who run, they need us for this country. We pay all the taxes. You know. Yes, the millionaires pay quite a big lump sum, but they're not going to go out there and do the grunt and grind work, are they? So they might pay a lot in taxes, but Jesus, we get the fucking shit for it. You know, we were, you know, the ones on the roads, your cleaners, your nurses, you know, all, you know, the ones doing your drains, going on your pylons, you know, the backbone of society, your welders, your mechanics, your joiners, your carpenters. You know, they're not, it's the working class they've got a problem with. It's an elitist system. It's an elitist system, and then as soon as you get into politics and you're from a working class, you become corrupted. But Deputy Prime Minister's just been caught out for corruption. It's like, just pay the bill. You're on enough salary. Pay the extra. Show that we're different. Show that we have values. But you didn't. You took your hand out. Kind of. If I ever ran for government, I wouldn't. And went, "Oh, he has your suits. I'll buy your suits for you." It's like, fuck off. I'm being paid enough on my salary. You know, no one's bought me fucking clothes anytime I've been to work. And then the other bastard job I've had. Oh, but I mean, yeah. What, you start buying this? You start buying these things. Fuck off. Because you're open to be bribed. You're open to being manipulated. And lo and behold, manipulated. Conned. Took all the handouts. Went to contact. Then start fiddling taxes. So conned. Took all the handouts. Then start fiddling taxes. And then we get court blames on a disabled child. For fuck's sake, blame a disabled child. Oh, I was going through a hard time, my husband in the house. And I'm trying to save 30 grand to get him a nicer holiday, man. Oh, I don't want to be kind of Benetton with the British and the working class. Fuck off, pet. Oh, I'll smash your fucking face. Honestly, it's like, my wife really liked her. Really liked her. Like good on her. Like, she stood for a lot of good. And she just got manipulated as shit. I say, and that's where they say they're all being bought. They're all being bought by someone richer and more powerful. And if there's a fact that we just had a government there that was there for the people and listen to people, and if anything had to be decided, like, oh, we're going to build HS2 and spend all these billions of pounds, is it worth it, or should we just fix everything else first? Get our country running right before we send money abroad, before we help in legal aid, in aid here, aid there. Let's fix everything here. Let's make sure people are on decent wages. Let's make sure we get people off benefits, into work, decent salaries, have an infrastructure. We have, we pay 3 times more for energy than anyone else in the world. But if you bought it for something, you meant to bought it for something when you're in business, because energy's a business, so you mean, well, I'll just buy off them. How come he's getting it twice as cheap as me? We're being manipulated, we're being conned, the government can shut this down at any point they want. They can take the energy back. We can start making our own energy. But it's just all this, like these million houses that are going to be built. They've been saying this for I don't know how long. These houses are wealthy. Who's going in them? It's insane. But let's get back to my little list. So, do you ever remember the Hillsborough disaster? Yeah, very tragic. Who was blamed for that? The working class. It was their fault. It was all their fault. But it wasn't, was it? It all came out years later. It was the police's fault. And the police blamed us, and the manipulated statements, and the media covered it all, that it was all the working class and we're the horrible shits. That's why these people died. They deserved it. They brought it on themselves. All to be lies. There's the lies that we've been going through. Coal strikes. That was all manipulated. Remember that back in the day? Thatcher putting people in as working class people as spies. Getting the information from them, manipulating people. All to sell off all their energy, and now look where we are energy-wise. China's using coal mines left, right and centre. Making, I don't know how much of the carbon footprint on the planet. We make less than 1%, but we pay 3 times more for our energy. How are you, man? Governments are being bought. Get ourselves back on my feet before we start doing stupid things like 0% fucking saying it's the hottest summer's ever. They've proved it was hotter long before we started even making the factories, making carbon, like polluting the air with carbon. It's been hotter. There's been more carbon in the air long before that. It's probably better now than it ever was. The AIDS blood scandal. Oh, look at that one. Government and NHS. Going back to the 70s. Deleting medical records. So I mean about your health service. Do you really trust them anymore? People dying. Telling them there was no wrong with them. Telling them that there was all in their head. And then they come out, yes, oh yeah, we contaminated the blood. We were warned not to use it, but we want to save a fucking few quid, just so we could give it to somebody else. Because that's what government for you. But you still trust them. You still think our government's got our best interest at heart. That they care about that much, and you've already got that free going on already. Oh, and then them groups of people with the young kids all around the country, where people had to lose their jobs on police forces because they were trying to stand up for it, and they couldn't, and no one listened, were told to shut up and go away. All for inclusion. Like, absolute cover-up from government to police to social workers. Do you think we've got the best interests of our country when our children are going through that? Blaming the children who went through it because they're from working class, impoverished, because there is no investment up in these towns, in these cities. That's what I'm saying. Fix what we have here first before we start fixing everything else. It's a fucking joke. But if you want to bypass that one, still say, well, our government's got our best interests. The Online Safety Act for children to protect them from crap online. I don't think someone child who's going to take a child away and do horrible things to them is going to be doing it on the internet. I think they're going to be doing it face to face, so you're never going to catch them. So having digital ID to go on the frigging internet is a load of shit, isn't it? Because it's not going to fix fuck all. Because this is happening in broad daylight, in taxis, in businesses, in offices, all around the country. And it's not just, and I'm not saying what race it is, I'm not saying it's one just race, because these kids are being harmed by every race. They're being harmed by everyone. But when it's covered up and you know the perpetrators, but you don't bring it out, you're sending a vicious message on you. You send this vicious message to us as the UK that we don't care that we know who these are. We're just going to protect them and not protect your children. It's dangerous territory. Then what else we got? Yeah, the asylum costs. We're visitors costs and the visitors crisis. We don't know who these people are. Like I said, I'm all for migration. You come here, you bring your documents, you get a job, you work here, welcome your open arms. Totally welcome your open arms. You come over here in the boat, you should be kept in a detainment centre. You shouldn't just be put on the streets if I don't know who you are, if you haven't got ID. If you are going to come over here in the boat, make sure you bring ID so we can prove who you are. If you don't bring ID, then you should just get sent back. If you are fleeing, bring your ID. Because then you can at least prove this is where I'm from and this is what I'm fleeing from. But you can make any bullshit story up you want. If you're not bringing your ID, well, you say, oh yeah, I was a preacher. Piss off. And they say, no, these are all with doctors and nurses. Well, if I were doctors and nurses that have their ID on them, they'd be coming in the legal way. Do you think we're thick as shit? What doctor gets on a boat for $5 when he can get on a plane and just pay the difference? Honestly, man, Jesus Christ. But the government's look after them. The government has our best interests at heart, doesn't it? Oh, this was a good one, remember? Lockdown. Government have your best interests at hand while they're all having parties. And they're all laughing at we. And they're driving up to Durham. Or they're having affairs in the office. But we all had to be locked away from our relatives. Couldn't go to funerals. Couldn't see people. People dying alone. And they're all having parties and having a laugh at we. But you still trust your government, do you? You still think they've got our best interests in? I just stopped believing it now. What about this gem from a while back here? Do you remember a man called Tony Blair, Labour as well? Another narcissist. We just went to go into a thing called the Iraq War, wasn't it? Because remember, they had weapons of mass destruction. So we went into a war to fight against terrorism and weapons of mass destruction with no weapons of mass destruction, no fighting of any weapons of mass destruction, but we're just killing millions of people. And then we're worried about why we now have terrorism. Maybe it's because of the fact we let our government just decide to do what the hell they liked. To then fund wars, these wars that make money for everybody. So then these people get irate with us and get pissed off because we're the Western world who has just blown up, and I don't blame them. If some fuck was sending missiles and ships and aeroplanes over my country and blowing the shit out of us for fucking weapons I didn't have, killing innocent people, fucking millions of them. But it's fine because it was our war, isn't it? As long as you're on the right side of war, it's good. There is no right side of war. Both sides of war is fucking shit. You should be able to, in a society like this now, you should be able to get in a room and you should be able to have the rest of the world behind you in the room saying, none of you are going to war. Because if one of you goes to war, we're going to come round and we're going to take this. We're just going to put a cease to it. The first one to strike, we'll strike and we'll strike hard. So you'll not exist. Stop the wars. Tell you what you do, you negotiate. You negotiate territories, you negotiate terms. But the first one to start striking, people don't want that, do they? Because it won't make any money for anyone. So wars are going to be going on forever. I bet if you Google it, I think there's about 200 wars going on at the moment in the world. Yeah. But they don't broadcast them, do you? Because they've got our best interests. There's another one for you. The Jimmy Savile cover-up. And every other cover-up that's come through the BBC and the government in regards to the links with these people. Down to Prince Charles saying he was never his friend, but there's letters and stuff like that. The Epstein cover-up. But everyone's got the best interests, haven't they? Our government are great. Really want to look after it. What else is it? Oh yeah, and then the MOD, which just came out recently, bringing the Afghans over who helped during the war. That war that we weren't meant to be in because there was no weapons. And it was all kept hush-hush and secret, and no one was meant to know about any of it. Don't know, it only cost us £7 billion, not a lot of money. but you still got trust in your government. We need a fully transparent government. You know, the government, I believe if they go in there with a pledge and they say, this is my manifesto, and you don't stick that manifesto, you have a year to sort it out and then you get out. And then the next one runs. Because anyone can make any type of manifesto, I mean, they could be offering you the world and give you absolutely fucking nothing. That's what they have done. And they're a joke. You know, and it's this, and all this is a divide. All these things, all these events are all divides. With everyone has helped divide someone from somebody else. The AIDS scandal made people out they were horrible, they were disgusting, they were dirty gays, dirty people who slept about, prostitutes. These are people that had never been anywhere near this type of stuff. This is our health service that made them go through this shit. You know, the coal strikes that were just working scum. You know, they were trying to fight for their living, trying to fight for the jobs because they just wanted to shut it down and having to go private. All these things, when you think back, the lockdown, pitching people against each other, anti-vaxxers, non-vaxxers. I used to walk into the shops when I was able to get in there, you know, because I've been stuck in the house that long. I would go to the shop and just walk around very slowly. But if I didn't have my mask on, I'd have people screaming in my face because it didn't work out. The narrative was you wore the mask to protect the others, but you're not protecting now, are you really? You know, and I'm making this fucking rant because I just feel like we're in an impossible situation at the moment. Something needs to change. Stop calling everyone far right. Start thinking properly. Start doing your research. Stop putting posts on that this person's got links with this person and this. You know, say if you're following. I wasn't watching that march for Tommy Robinson. You know, I was following it for the fact that we're trying to stand up for free speech, we're trying to get with safety of the country back. Stop the handouts, bring values back here. No one's against migrants, just come in legally. You know, the more we can help each other and be strong and be there for each other, the less the government can manipulate, and that's what they're scared of. Because the problem is now, but people who are out there broadcasting this stuff live, showing the alternative side, they can't hide the truth. They can't hide what's really happening on the streets, where we're media and all that are all practically owned by the government. You know, they all have meetings together. You know, it's all pre-planned. It's all pre-talked about. What can go on there, what can't go on there. You know, there was a broadcast, there was information found that there were paying ITV and BBC and Channel 4, our government paying these people to put the pandemic stuff into their show, to push for the injections, to push for people to be told what to do and how to be, and are you being manipulated by your TV? You know, and I'm not one for this Tommy Robinson. I like the fact he stood up for what he stood up for in regards to grooming gangs. Don't agree with the way he did it. And at times I did feel like he was a bit biased, one-sided. But anything, his message, if it's pursued the right way from the wrong media, will always show him as a far-right thug. Now, if it's presented in a factual way, he may not be. You know, because there's two sides to every argument. You know, you should know that yourself. You know, you are all there, and you probably sit and watch this video, and you probably got partners and husbands and wives and girlfriends, and you think of it when you've had an argument, and think of your version and their version, and think how far apart both of them are, but you both think you're in the right. That's what's been portrayed on the news. You know, you've got your honest journalists who are portraying what's really happening, you can see it. But then you've got your alternative medias who are just there for the clickbait. You know, you like the last video I'd done in regards to the mobility, and the fact that he was manipulating that all these cars are all going, like, literally probably all the cars from Mobility are just going to waste as West Virginia was like less than 1.3% of them, so manipulation's out there. It's always been out there. It's become more apparent, and I think that's why I say this video is all about class, nothing else. I think the upper class don't want us having a voice. They don't want us knowing anything. Don't want us understanding. They think we're all just thick and useless, But that's me for now. Sorry about the rant, but I just felt like need to say what I had to say. Probably, if you like us talking about this type of stuff, put a comment in. If you don't, it's fine. I'm gonna try. I do try and stay away from this as much as possible, but it is hard. But thanks for listening, and as always, please remember, stay alive.